Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to our coffee times together. Today I am here to help maybe those that would like to start watching some horror but they don't want something that is too extreme or too much. So I decided to put down a list of 11 movies that you can choose to start with horror, and I have divided it in like subgenres so that you can see if there is any that sounds interesting to you.
It's coffee time.
I know a lot of people feel a little bit overwhelmed when it comes to horror, maybe books, maybe movies, because they don't know exactly where to start. And I agree, it's really hard. And you have to pick, I guess, the right movies so that you stay with the horror and you don't get too scared too fast. So basically my first pick is going to be for one of the genres that I watched the first when I started with horror, and that is vampires. I was really obsessed with vampires back in the day. Still am. And I think there is a movie that is very accessible and it's a classic from the 80s, and that is The Lost Boys. We have a mother and her two sons that moved to a little town in California called Santa Carla, and while they're there, the kids kind of start to hang out with the wrong crowd, a crowd of vampires. I love all the effects in this movie. I think the acting is extremely good, the outfits are amazing, the soundtrack is just brilliant, and I think this movie works so well together. And it is a vampire movie that it is serious, and it's not a comedy or anything, but I think it's not too much for newbies to take. And it's a classic that I've rewatched many times. Next topic that we're gonna touch here is aliens, and I thought of a movie of 1998 that I think it's super approachable, and that is The Faculty. This is a kind of teeny movie, but I think it's a great way to start getting introduced a little bit into the genre. I don't know, choosing something like Alien might be a little bit too overwhelming for people, so I think The Faculty is a great start. We're following a couple of teenagers that, while in high school, the newspaper photographer realizes that a nurse that was killed is suddenly alive again, so he starts an investigation. I remember watching this one back in the day, actually in the cinema, and really enjoying it, even though it's kind of a more cheesy movie, so to say, but I think it's a great start. As for haunted houses, I think there is a lot of great choices that you can choose to start with, but I would recommend you a newer one, which is The Woman in Black from 2012. We follow Daniel Radcliffe's character. He is a widower and a lawyer in the early 20th century in England, and he goes to this house where he realizes that there might be something hunting it. I think it has great atmosphere. I don't think it's too much to take for a newbie, and I think it's a great introduction again to haunted houses. As for movies that have to do with viruses, which is normally a genre that I really enjoy watching. It's perhaps not the best right now, but I decided to include it. We have Carriers from 2009 starring Chris Pine, and yes, you heard right. And it is a post-apocalyptic world in which humanity has been nearly wiped out by this virus, and we have a couple of friends that are trying to flee this pandemic in their car until sadly one of them gets infected by the virus. I think it's a great kind of post-apocalyptic virus movie to start with. Yeah, and it's kind of a guilty pleasure, I guess, because I know not many people love this movie, but I really enjoyed it. Let's go to ghost/apparitions. So we have Mama. This was the director's debut from Andy Muschietti, and he already had in this movie Jessica Chastain in the main role. We're following two little girls that, because they lost their parents, they have to be put with the aunt, and let's say there is something really dark hunting these little girls that they will have to face. Absolutely love this movie. I think it's another one that it's not talked about too much. but that it has a great atmosphere. This might be a bit intense, but I still think this is newbie proof. As for thrillers, you know, that touch the horror genre, I would like to recommend Red Eye from 2005. This was actually directed by Wes Craven, and it has Cillian Murphy as one of the main roles, who is an actor that I adore. And we have here a woman that is being kidnapped in a flight, and I don't want to tell you too much about it because I know this is one of the movies where you should go into it without knowing too much in order not to spoil any plot twist or anything that might happen. But I think this is a great, really intense thriller, and perfect for people that want to get into the genre. Now let's talk slashers. I know slashers can be a lot sometimes, depending on the level of gore and blood that it's being splattered and shown to you. So I decided to choose one that is kind of fun and cheesy, and that is Stay Alive, because I think this is also one of those that you can watch with a group of friends. It has more kind of like a teeny cheesy atmosphere, but that is perfectly fine. It's another one that is kind of like a guilty pleasure of mine because I really did enjoy this movie. I think it has to do with the combination of video games and horror, which I adore. So it's a group of friends that decide to play a video game called Stay Alive, and it's all fun and games until they realize that they start dying the same way that their characters died in the game. Then it's no longer funny. No, not anymore. A great slasher for me. So if you want to get into the slasher genre, give this one a try. Do you want to get started into zombie movies? I have one here for you, directed by Danny Boyle, the British post-apocalyptic movie called 28 Days Later from 2002. And here we have a virus that wiped out most of the human population, and like the title say, we are following the survivors 28 days later and how they are coping with having survived all of these, and you know how the world is looking after such a huge apocalypse. So if you like thrillers but you also like supernatural and ghosts, I would recommend you to take a look at The Sixth Sense. This is a movie from Night Shyamalan, and I really enjoyed this movie. It is about a kid that, you know, he can't see ghosts, so the parents get him somebody as a psychologist so that he can talk to him about his experience of seeing the ghosts and kind of treat him because they think that he's seeing ghosts for a reason, so they want to help the kid. Really great thriller, and it's one of my favorites from Shyamalan. If you like supernatural stories, I bring you here one recommendation that it's kind of like a fantasy horror with supernatural that really surprised me pleasantly, and that is Before I Wake. In this movie, we have a couple that after losing their own kid decide to adopt a little boy. And this boy is called Cody, and what they don't know is that when he sleeps, whatever he dreams comes alive. And the last recommendation is if you like found footage movies, because I know some people really enjoy them, so I would recommend you to take a look at Rec from 2007, the Spanish original movie. And we are following here a group of journalists that are interviewing and kind of covering a story about firefighters in an apartment. And then the people that are living in the apartments start to show really weird behavior, and then all hell breaks loose. I think it's one of my favorite found footage movies. It is really creepy, atmospheric, and dark, and it kind of reminded me to the feeling that I had the first time that I watched the Blair Witch Project. So I, would recommend this one as a newbie movie. It is pretty harsh, but I think most of the found footage movies tend to be quite intense, just because you are living everything through the lens and it just feels more close to the characters. yeah, but this is a great movie that started a huge franchise. Alright you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. Maybe I even mentioned something that you would like to check yourself. Even if you are an experienced horror movie watcher, let me know down below which movies do you think are great for newbies. Let me know in the comments. Thanks so much for watching you guys. Please give the video a big thumbs up for support. If you want to follow me on the social media, all the links are down below. And I hope to see you all in the next coffee time. Bye!